Welcome to History What If, where we question the events that already happened. What really could have happened? Could we have changed the outcome? Before we begin, everything you're about to hear is based on historical research, facts, and records. The what-if scenarios are my own opinion and interpretation of events, designed to make you think, question, and explore history differently. This is not the official historical record. This is history, through a different lens. Alright, today's thread is a big one. We're talking about the country that's about to throw itself the biggest birthday party on Earth, and how it very nearly didn't live long enough to get the cake. Let's go. This year, 2026, the United States of America turns 250 years old. That's a quarter of a millennium. We're talking fireworks you can see from space, parades that shut down entire cities, and roughly 400 million hot dogs sacrificed for the cause. It's a big deal, as it should be. And of course, at every single one of those barbecues, there will be that one guy. You know him. He's got a spatula in one hand, a strong opinion in the other, and he's about to confidently explain the real history of the Founding Fathers, every word of which is gloriously, catastrophically wrong. But here's the thing that guy will never tell you between burnt burgers. The thing nobody brings up at the cookout. This whole country, all 250 years of it, came terrifyingly close to not making it past year one. Like, didn't survive the free trial close. We're talking about a nation that nearly held the record for shortest lived country in modern history. The 250th birthday cake? In another version of events, it never even made it into the oven. The candles never got lit. The whole party got canceled before the invitations went out. So today, we're pulling the thread on the big one. What if America actually lost the Revolutionary War? Spoiler, it was a lot closer than your history textbook made it sound. Buckle up. Let's set the stage. It's the 1770s. 13 British colonies are clinging to the east coast of North America, and they are owned, lock, stock, and barrel, by Great Britain. Not partnered with, not roommates with, owned. Like a phone on a payment plan that never ends. And Britain was not some scrappy underdog. This was the most powerful empire on the entire planet. The largest navy the world had ever seen. A professional, trained, terrifyingly organized army. And money. So much money. If empires had a credit score, Britain's was perfect and yours was crying. And what did the colonies have? Farmers. Some muskets that worked occasionally. And a truly historic amount of rage about tea. That's the matchup. That's the whole tale of the tape. The greatest military on Earth versus a bunch of guys who were really, really upset about a beverage tax. Now, to be fair, the colonists had a point. Britain kept taxing them harder and harder while giving them exactly zero say in the matter. Imagine your landlord raising your rent every month, and when you complain, he just hands you a vacuum and watches it suck the coins out of your pockets. That's basically the vibe. So the colonists came up with a slogan. No taxation without representation. And honestly, great slogan. Clean, punchy, fits on a sign. Marketing teams today would kill for that kind of message. The colonists were broke, freezing, and outgunned, but the branding was immaculate. And then in 1776, they did the single most audacious thing imaginable. They wrote up the Declaration of Independence, basically a 2 weeks notice letter, and handed it to the most powerful empire in human history. Yeah, hi, we quit. It's not us, it's you. Mostly the taxes. Let's just sit with how unhinged this was for a second. Militarily, this was like a minnow filing a restraining order against a shark. The smart money wasn't just on Britain. There was no other money. Vegas wouldn't have taken the bet. And yet, let's look at what the Americans were actually working with, because it's grim. The Continental Army was underfunded, undertrained, and, my personal favorite, frequently just not paid at all. Picture going to war, risking your life, and your reward is a handwritten I owe you. Thanks for your service, here's a napkin that says we owe you. It gets better. Soldiers would sign up, fight for a few months, and then just leave. Their enlistment would end mid-war, they'd look around, go, well, harvest season's coming and these crops won't farm themselves, and walk home, across an active battlefield, with a little suitcase. The army was less a fighting force and more a very dangerous part-time job. And then there's the commander himself, George Washington. Legendary figure, face on the dollar, absolute icon. Also, and I say this with love, the man lost a lot of battles, like a genuinely concerning number. If Washington had a win-loss record posted at the gym, you'd feel bad for him. Washington's actual strategy for a big chunk of the war was, and I'm not exaggerating much, lose slowly enough that we don't technically lose. Just retreat, survive, and keep the army from completely evaporating. It's the military equivalent of running out the clock when you're down by 30. Hey, it worked. Eventually. Barely. Then came the winter at Valley Forge. And this part isn't funny, so I'm not going to pretend it is. Soldiers with no shoes, no food, boiling shoe leather just to have something warm to put in their stomachs. These were people who genuinely suffered for an idea they believed in. Respect where it's due. They earned every bit of that 250th birthday. And the entire time this is happening, Britain is just there, fully fed, fully equipped, fully unbothered, standing across the field checking their pocket watch like an annoyed parent at a soccer game going, "Are you done yet? It's getting cold and I'd like to go home." So let's be honest, on paper, this war should have been over by Tuesday, maybe Wednesday if traffic was bad. Every metric, money, men, training, ships, pointed to a quick, boring British victory. The Americans had no business winning this. None. Which is exactly what makes the next part so absurd. So if the Americans were this outmatched, broke, barefoot, and bailing on each other mid-battle, how on earth did they actually pull it off? What's the secret ingredient? Let's grab the thread labeled 1777 and give it a good, hard pull. Host grabs glowing red thread. Here's the secret the barbecue guy definitely doesn't know. America didn't win the revolution alone. They got the mother of all assists from one specific country that showed up with money, guns, and pettiness to spare. France. Oui, oui, baby. Vive la bailout. Now, why would France help a random group of farmers thousands of miles away? Simple. France hated Britain. Not mild rivalry hated, centuries deep, generational, we will help anyone who annoys you hated. The Americans didn't have to convince France to join. They just had to be inconvenient to Britain, which honestly was their specialty. But France didn't want to back a loser. They needed proof these scrappy colonists could actually win one. And in 1777, they got it. The Battle of Saratoga. The Americans pulled off a genuine against-all-odds upset. And France, peeking over the fence like a nosy neighbor, went, "Hold on, these guys might actually pull this off." That single battle changed everything. And once France was convinced, they did not hold back. They came in hot. Money, ships, troops, weapons, and crucially, that big, beautiful French Navy. Picture France rolling up in sunglasses, dumping an entire wheelbarrow of gold and warships onto the colonists like the world's most aggressive GoFundMe. The Americans went from broke and barefoot to internationally sponsored overnight. So here's our divergence point. The loose thread that unravels everything. What if the Americans lost at Saratoga? That one battle, the exact battle that convinced France to bet on them. If that goes the other way, France never shows up, and suddenly our entire story falls apart. No Saratoga win means no convinced France. No France means no money, no navy, no troops, no bailout. Just picture France quietly tiptoeing backwards out of the room, avoiding eye contact, mumbling, "I was never here." The colonists are right back to farmers, muskets, and tea rage, except now they've officially committed treason. Awkward. Without France, the revolution doesn't go out in a blaze of glory. It just fizzles. Sputters out sometime around 1778 like a candle in a draft. The greatest comeback story in human history, the one we put in every textbook and every blockbuster movie, simply never comes back. Roll credits. Sad ones. So welcome to the timeline where America loses. Grab your tea, mind the king, and let's see exactly how weird the world gets when the 4th of July is just a Thursday. First and most obvious, there is no United States. The 13 colonies stay British. No independence, no new country, no eagle screeching majestically over a mountain. Just 13 slightly grumpy British territories, filing paperwork, paying their tea tax, and quietly seething for the next couple centuries. Which means that giant 250th birthday party in 2026? Canceled. Doesn't exist. July 4th is just a regular Tuesday. No fireworks, no parades, no 400 million hot dogs, just a calendar that says report to work, and a faint, unexplainable sadness that nobody in this timeline can quite put their finger on. And those founding fathers we put on money and mountains? Yeah, they're having a rough one. In this timeline, signing the Declaration of Independence wasn't the heroic birth of a nation, it was signing a fully notarized confession to treason. They didn't found a country, they signed their own arrest warrants in really fancy cursive. So instead of going from regular guys to faces on the $100 bill, the founding fathers go the other direction entirely, from potential national heroes straight to names on a wanted poster. Poor Ben Franklin. One timeline he's on your money, the next his face is getting peeled off and replaced with King George. Brutal downgrade. Speaking of money, there's no US dollar in this timeline. None. Everybody's using British pounds, which means your wallet is now just sad and foreign. Every time you open it, a single tear rolls down your face, and you don't even fully understand why. That's the dollar that never was, whispering to you across timelines. And the holidays? Oof, Thanksgiving still technically exists, but now it's deeply awkward. There's a giant oil painting of King George hanging at the head of the table, staring down at your mashed potatoes, and everyone's legally required to toast the crown before they're allowed to eat. Pass the gravy, long live the king, pass it again. The turkey is exactly the same. The vibe, catastrophically different. Even the turkey can feel it. Look at him, he's sweating. He knows something is deeply, politically wrong with this dinner, and he can't say it because he's a turkey. We've all been that turkey at a family gathering. But okay, here's where it gets genuinely wild. Because losing the revolution doesn't just change America. Oh no, we've got to talk about the domino effect. And this is the part where one lost battle in upstate New York quietly reaches across an entire ocean and starts knocking over the rest of the planet. Saratoga domino tips. Here's the chain. The American Revolution directly inspired the French Revolution. The French watched a bunch of regular people overthrow a king and successfully build something new, and went, wait, we can do that too? No American success story means no spark. No spark means the French Revolution might play out completely differently, or not happen at all. And no French Revolution? That means no chaos for a certain short, ambitious artillery officer to rise out of. That's right, no French Revolution means no Napoleon. The single most influential military figure in modern European history might just never get his shot. The domino stops one tile short of the most important man of the era. And no Napoleon completely scrambles the map of Europe. The man redrew borders, toppled monarchies, and rewrote entire legal systems. Take him out of the equation, and Europe in this timeline looks like a jigsaw puzzle that's been dumped on the floor and reassembled by someone who wasn't paying attention. Countries you know maybe never exist. So picture it. In this timeline, Napoleon, destined to be emperor, strolls up to claim his historic destiny and finds a little sign taped to the door. Position no longer available. He checks the address, checks the sign again, just stands there. A great man with nowhere to be great. So what does history's greatest conqueror do with all that ambition and nowhere to point it? He shrugs, sighs, and becomes, I don't know, an accountant. Just a brilliant, restless little man in a tiny cubicle, conquering spreadsheets instead of continents, occasionally muttering, I could have taken Russia, while filing someone's taxes. What a timeline. And that's the part that should genuinely melt your brain. One lost battle in upstate New York of all places, and Europe never gets Napoleon. That's how this all works. History isn't some grand, inevitable plan. It's held together with masking tape, good timing, and an absolutely absurd amount of luck. Pull one piece and the whole thing peels apart. Meanwhile, back in our losing timeline America, Britain has a brand new headache. They now have to actually govern this enormous, spread out, deeply annoyed territory full of people who really, really wanted to be independent and are extremely salty that they aren't. Congratulations, Britain, you won! Your prize is babysitting 3 million people who hate you. And let's be real, those colonists were not going to just give up. They'd try again, and again, and again. Rebellion attempts number 2, number 3, number 4, stretching off into the horizon. The United States might still happen. It'd just show up fashionably late, like 50 years behind schedule, possibly with a slightly different accent and a much bigger grudge. Line of rebellion stickmen. So let's bring it home. That giant 250th birthday party America's throwing this year, it owes its entire existence to one single surprise victory at Saratoga. That's it. That's the thread the whole country hangs from. Pull it, and the cake, the fireworks, the hot dogs, all of it disappears. That plus one grumpy French king who hated Britain so much he was willing to fund a revolution out of pure spite, and a frankly ridiculous amount of pure dumb luck. America wasn't carried to victory by destiny. It was carried by a beef between France and Britain and a really good roll of the dice. And that's the real lesson hiding in here. America didn't win because it was somehow guaranteed to. It won because a long line of dominoes happened to fall in exactly the right direction at exactly the right time. And they came within one battle of falling the other way. That's not destiny, that's a coin flip wearing a powdered wig. So this year, when the fireworks go off and that guy at the barbecue starts confidently explaining history wrong again, just smile, take a bite of your hot dog, and quietly remember, 250 years ago, this entire country was one bad Tuesday in upstate New York away from never existing at all. Happy almost didn't happen birthday, America. If you enjoyed this one, smash that subscribe button, because next week we're grabbing a brand new thread and breaking history all over again. I'll see you in the next one, What If?